Over 2.5 million Canadians eat at McDonald's Canada every single day. Just pause on that for a second. That is more people than the entire population of Manitoba, lining up for the same brand, the same menu, the same meals, every single day. And for a lot of families, this isn't an occasional thing anymore. It's not a Friday night treat or a road trip stop. It's breakfast before work, lunch between errands, dinner when groceries feel out of reach or time just isn't there. McDonald's publishes their nutrition information, and yes, they do it because they have to. But there are things they are not required to tell you. Things like why the exact same menu item has completely different ingredients depending on the country. Why additives that are restricted or banned in Europe still show up in Canadian food. And why a Big Mac you buy in Toronto is not the same Big Mac someone gets in London. We spent weeks digging into this, comparing menus across countries, reviewing regulatory documents, tracking supply chain incidents that barely made headlines. And what we found isn't about whether fast food is healthy. You already know that. This is about something else. Standards, regulations, and where those standards quietly stop. Same company, different rules, different food. And once you see it, you won't unsee it. Let's get into it. Here's something McDonald's Canada does not advertise. The same menu item, made with different ingredients depending on where you are in the world. Let's start with something simple, chicken McNuggets. In Canada, the ingredient list includes dimethyl polysiloxane, which is an anti-foaming agent, TBHQ, which is a preservative, and multiple sodium phosphates. TBHQ belongs to a family of synthetic preservatives that includes BHA and BHT, all petroleum-based compounds that extend shelf life but face varying restrictions globally. Now compare that to the UK. There, you're looking at rapeseed oil, wheat flour, seasoning, and spices. That's it. No TBHQ, no dimethyl polysiloxane, no BHA or BHT. So what changed? The answer is not the recipe. It's the regulations. The European Union has banned or restricted certain additives that Canada still allows. TBHQ, for example, is a petroleum-based preservative. Dimethyl polysiloxane is a silicone compound, the same base material used in things like silly putty. Sodium phosphates are binding agents that help maintain texture and extend shelf life. Now, to be clear, these are considered food grade and legal in Canada. They are approved by Health Canada within certain limits. But that is not really the question, is it? The real question is why McDonald's removes them for European customers, but keeps them in Canadian products. And the answer is simple. They don't have to remove them here. Canada's regulatory framework is less strict in certain areas compared to Europe. So when companies can use cheaper preservatives or additives to extend shelf life and simplify production, they will, unless the law says otherwise. In Europe, regulators tend to ask, do we actually need this ingredient? In Canada, the question is more like, is this ingredient safe within allowed limits? Both approaches are technically valid. Both are backed by science, but they produce very different outcomes. And Canadians are eating those differences every single day. Now, if you think that is where it ends, it doesn't. Because once you look at sodium levels, things get even more interesting. A Big Mac in Canada contains about 970 milligrams of sodium. In the UK, it's closer to 900. Not a huge gap, right? But then you look at fries. A medium fries in Canada comes in at around 340 milligrams. In France, it is closer to 310. Again, small differences. But here is where it adds up. Health Canada recommends a maximum of 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, the same guideline followed by most Western health authorities. When you multiply those differences across millions of meals every single day, across an entire population, it starts to matter. And when we looked deeper, we found that McDonald's adjusts recipes based on three main factors. First, regulatory pressure. Europe has stronger sodium reduction targets that companies are expected to meet. Second, consumer pressure. In places like the UK, there have been large public health campaigns pushing for lower salt levels in food. Third, competition. European fast food chains often compete on perceived health quality, not just price. In Canada, even Tim Hortons, the country's largest quick-service restaurant, operates under similar regulatory frameworks, meaning the pressure for reformulation has been weaker across the industry. So the recipes haven't changed as much, but there is another layer here that most people don't think about. Sodium is not just about taste. It affects shelf life. It affects consistency. It affects how easily food can be mass-produced, transported, and reheated. Higher sodium levels make the entire system more efficient. That does not make it wrong or illegal, but it explains why reductions happen faster in places where companies are forced to do it. Now look at a typical McDonald's meal. Big Mac, about 970 milligrams. Medium fries, around 340. Medium Coke, roughly 15. That brings you to about 1,325 milligrams in one sitting. That is over half your daily recommended intake in a single meal. And that guideline assumes you are not eating like this regularly. But Canadians are eating fast food 2 to 3 times per week on average. And when you step back and do the math, it paints a very different picture. Now, let's talk about something most people don't connect to fast food: inflation. Because McDonald's pricing strategy during Canada's recent inflation surge tells you exactly who they are targeting. In 2022, food inflation in Canada hit around 11%. Groceries became noticeably more expensive, and for many families, it started to feel out of control. So what did McDonald's do? They expanded their value menu. More $1 to $3 items, more bundles, more app-exclusive deals. At first glance, that sounds helpful, but when we analyzed pricing data from 2019 to 2024, a different pattern showed up. Value items stayed relatively stable or even got cheaper, but standard menu items increased significantly. A Big Mac meal went up by about 35%. A Quarter Pounder meal increased by roughly 33%. Meanwhile, items like the Junior Chicken and McDouble stayed around the same price range. So what does that mean? It means that as prices rise, customers are being pushed toward lower cost, higher volume items, more processed, higher sodium, lower overall nutritional value. A Big Mac has about 25 grams of protein. A McDouble has around 22 grams, but costs much less. When grocery prices are high, that cheaper option becomes the default choice. For a family, a $10 fast food option can feel like relief, but that relief comes with trade-offs. Short-term savings in exchange for long-term health costs. And when budgets are tight, the cheapest calories almost always win. Now, here is where things get even more interesting. Because when it comes to marketing to children, McDonald's has had to get creative, especially in Quebec. Back in 1980, Quebec introduced one of the strictest laws in North America, banning advertising to children under 13. So how does McDonald's handle Happy Meals there? Outside Quebec, ads are very direct. Bright toys, cartoon characters, playground scenes, everything clearly aimed at kids. But in Quebec, the ads look different. They are framed around families, adults, shared meals. Toys are still present, but they are not the focus. Cartoon mascots are largely absent. So technically, they are following the law. But here is the part most people miss. The law applies to advertising in media, not what happens inside the restaurant. Walk into a McDonald's in Montreal. The toys are still there. The displays are still bright. The experience is still clearly designed to appeal to children. So while the advertising rules are followed, the overall strategy does not really change. And in 2023, McDonald's Canada spent over $20 million on advertising. In Quebec, instead of traditional ads, that budget shifts into in-store experience, national campaigns, and digital platforms. Same objective, different execution. All completely legal. Now let's move to something even bigger, the supply chain. Because when McDonald's says 100% Canadian beef, it sounds reassuring, but it does not tell the full story. Yes, the beef and chicken are sourced in Canada, but they come from a small number of very large suppliers. Companies like Cargill and Maple Leaf Foods dominate the supply chain. In fact, Cargill supplies 100% of McDonald's Canada beef patties from their single Spruce Grove, Alberta facility. And that level of consolidation creates risk. When a few facilities supply such a large portion of the country, a single issue can affect millions of people. There have been incidents. In 2022, Maple Leaf Foods issued recalls over potential listeria contamination. In 2012, XL Foods, owned by Cargill, was involved in one of the largest E. coli recalls in Canadian history. Over 1,800 products were recalled. 18 people became ill. Operations were shut down for weeks. McDonald's was not always directly named in these events, but their suppliers were. And here is something most Canadians are not aware of. Inspection reports are not always fully public. Recalls can happen without major media coverage, and supply chain transparency is limited by what companies are required to disclose. So when something goes wrong, information can take time to reach the public. Now let's talk about cost, because there is this perception that McDonald's is cheaper than cooking at home. So we tested it. A typical family meal at McDonald's, say 2 Big Mac meals and 2 Happy Meals, runs around $45 to $50. Now compare that to groceries. Ground beef, about $8. Buns, $3. Vegetables, around $6. Frozen fries, $4. Condiments, $2. That brings you to about $23 for multiple servings. Even factoring in time and effort, cooking at home is still significantly cheaper. So why do people choose fast food? Because McDonald's is not just competing with home cooking anymore. It is competing with time, with exhaustion, with food insecurity. In 2024, over 2 million Canadians relied on food banks each month. And when you map McDonald's locations against income levels, food bank usage, and access to grocery stores, a pattern appears. Higher density in lower income areas. More locations where grocery options are limited. This is not random. It is strategic. And then there is what they do not have to disclose. Natural flavors is one of those terms. It can represent a wide range of compounds, but companies are not required to break it down further under current Canadian Food Inspection Agency labeling requirements. Supply chain working conditions are another. There is no requirement to disclose labor practices or environmental impact in detail. So you know the calories, you know the sodium, but there is a lot you do not know. And here is where it gets complicated. Because McDonald's is not just a fast food chain. In many communities, it plays a much bigger role. It provides jobs, especially for young people and newcomers. It offers consistent access to food in areas where options are limited. In some places, it even serves as a social hub. But at the same time, it normalizes highly processed food. It competes with local restaurants, and over time, it shapes eating habits. Childhood obesity rates in Canada have tripled since 1980, according to Statistics Canada data. There are many factors behind that, but fast food is often part of the conversation. So what did all of this reveal? That Canada's regulatory approach allows certain ingredients and practices that are restricted elsewhere. That pricing strategies during inflation steer customers towards specific choices. That supply chains are concentrated with limited transparency. And that there is a constant balance between convenience, affordability, and long-term health. McDonald's is operating within the law, but the laws themselves are shaped by the same system that companies operate in. Industry groups, including those representing fast food chains, have input on regulations. That is how the system works. So the question is not whether McDonald's should exist. The question is whether Canadians want the same standards seen in other parts of the world. Whether transparency should go further. Whether policies should shift. Those are decisions that start with information. And now you have it. Because what Canadians do not know affects what Canadians eat. And what Canadians eat affects everything. More investigations are coming. Stay informed.